Hey everybody, this is Scott Bowman. I am the creator behind Idea Brickworks and here with episode 11 of Brick Building Together Apart. I have my normal cohort, Mr. Jones from the UK. It's very, very dark there because it's very, very late there. And that is because we have a really fun guest today. His name is Matthew Nolan. Better known as a collaborator with Valerie Roche, and really the person has birthed so many wonderful projects on Lego Ideas. So I really think this is a coup that I've got him on this show, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about the collaboration, what they've done, and all the different things that they're doing. And Matthew has also said that he wants to be on his best behavior since Lego is looking at one of his sets. So we do want to make sure that we give all good vibes because we want to see that produced. So again, Matthew, I'm going to let you just give a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Matthew Nolan from Australia, Sydney. I've been building Lego since I was a little kid. I got my first Lego kit when I was about 6 or 7 and just fell in love with it at that point. And then like a lot of people built Lego, like Lego Space was definitely my thing. Did that for, at least 10 years. And then moved away from Lego, but when I had my own kids, it was a great excuse to come back to it. So got out all the old Legos like this box, about this big, as sort of kids of the 70s. That's all we got, right? That was a lot of Lego back in those days. And went and ordered 25 kilos of bulk Lego straight off eBay just to catch up. Just the best, because you can sit there and sort it out. I dumped it in the lounge room, sorted it all out. And really haven't looked back since. It's been a wild ride on Lego Ideas. It was certainly something that I would never, ever have thought I would do. I would say to anybody who's out there thinking, I don't mind building Lego, but I could never do something like that. No, neither could I. I'm sure you can. If I can, trust me, you can. The story for me with Valerie started with I was walking along with a mate of mine. I don't know if you can see behind this, the Saturn V here, right? And,
right.
I was walking along with a good mate of mine, John Ryder, and he's like, I was lamenting that I didn't have somewhere to display because it's quite a long model, right? It's over a meter long, and I loved it as a model. And he's like, have you seen the launch umbilical tower that someone's put on Lego Ideas? And I had looked at Lego Ideas many times, and I had voted for projects, but I wasn't super into it, just a casual observer. And so I looked at it, and so then I was like, well, I could probably build one of those. And so I built it, and then I wrote to the designer. And just wanted to say thank you. So I attached a photo and just sent them a note saying, hey, thanks for this cool design you did. I didn't have any sort of LDD or instructions, but it was just fun to build. And I didn't realize that no one had built it before. This was quite a few years ago now. It was like, oh, crap, no one done that before. Well, that got us chatting. I did not even realize that the same person who designed the Saturn V had co-designed the launch umbilical tower. So that was the story of how Valerie and I met online. We've now collaborated, on, so we did, the first one we did was SpaceX Ultimate Collection, and then we did their Starship Super Heavy. Then we did the Blue Origin one, which is just here. And then our current one, so that's up for review right now. And then this one here is gathering votes. I think it just passed 7,000 a day or two ago. And then we've got a new one over here, Godzilla.
Yeah, the Godzilla.
Yeah, Godzilla.
We'll get into that. We have 2 hours to talk about all of that. So what are you going to do today? I know you said you were... I've been so we're in the middle of, for someone watching this in 20 years time, we're in the middle of coronavirus, and it's kind of this weird time, and I have got some great projects to build, but it's also fun to just learn a bit more about Lego and the history. And as I've gotten into a couple of odd bricks and weird history and things like that, so I'll share some of that today. But one of the things I've gotten into is Grange mouth bricks, and I will go more into that in a bit whenever you're ready. But I'm going to build a little display today. So I have a mountain of bricks here, and I'm just going to build a display where I can hopefully show those bricks, because they piled up in a little lump here. They don't look very visual. Okay. Well, I am going to add another one of our regulars, Mr. B, otherwise known as Sam Bedford. So Sam, what are you going to do today?
I am implementing some of the changes Joe's made for the pad into my file.
And I don't know, Matthew, if you, Sam Bedford has done the launch Complex 39.
I've seen it. That's very impressive. That is big.
It is huge. What did you say? What was that count when you were on? 250,000?
I don't think it's quite that big. Or maybe it is.
125.
It's like 130,000.
Okay, well, that's still big.
But still nuts, yeah.
Yeah, still huge. So, I already gave away that Sam is just going to be our producer today, but I'm going back into my backlog, and I've had this forever. And but the story behind it is I actually got it. I was going to make it for my mother because she's really she was into lighthouses, and in the meantime, she passed away. So I didn't ever get that done. And so I thought, I'm going to build this. Plus, I have a whole bunch of brick to sort anyway. So I'll build it, take it apart. It'll go back into the, the part bin. But so that's what I'm going to do today. So we can get started on that stuff. And then I am going to bring up something to talk about.
So I had that set, Scott, and it's got so many good pieces that you can steal. It was on the shelf just up here, and it lasted a while. Like, it's not too uncommon for things to get nicked after a while, but it lasted. But yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was some neat volume of macaroni in it from memory, and it was great.
Well, and one of the interesting things about this show, and by the way, this show is recorded, and then we will broadcast it at our normal time on Saturday. But by trying to connect Sydney, Australia, Boise, Idaho, the UK, and possibly France, but I knew that Valerie probably wouldn't actually tune in. But it turned into quite the feat. But we figured that out, and we've got it going at this point.
Yeah, that was always logistics.
So I wanted to show, this was the pictures that I got. Oh, there it is. Gotta get the right controls.
Valerie's got blonde hair now, I can tell you. That's not a cat picture.
Yeah, right. She mixed scales, that's just blowing me away. But so yes, and so initially I had reached out to Valerie, mostly because of what turned out to be, as I have learned, a language translation issue, that I put out a call to any builder on the bricks in space, and which Sam, Mr. B, is very big in. And she misinterpreted that I was sending a personal message. And so we communicated back a couple of times. And then it became very apparent that English is not a language she speaks. I'm sure she probably speaks more languages, but not English. So French is her native tongue. And so then she kind of volunteered you, Matthew, to kind of talk about both yourself and the duo. And so then I asked for some info, and these are the pictures I got. I asked for a headshot, which Matthew, you did very appropriately. And of course, apparently no one has ever seen Valerie. And so she is keeping herself secret, and has, because I even looked on her Facebook page trying to sneak around it, and I noticed she just doesn't like to post pictures of herself.
So I had this weird experience at the start of our collaboration where I had known and built and corresponded many emails almost every day, or every day at least, with this person, and I didn't know what they looked like. I literally, she could have walked past me in the street and I would have been able to pick her out of a lineup. And her daughter came out to Australia, and then the whole family came out to Australia just for a holiday. And obviously they were coming to Sydney, so it was great to be able to catch up with them. But I had to get a description to know who I was meeting at the office because I didn't know what she looked like. And they're absolutely lovely, but the language is definitely the most challenging part. Where I don't speak a lick of French, so it's as much on me as it is on them. I speak only French, and unfortunately the English thing doesn't come through. So it was kind of funny that you've experienced it. This is what we do day in, day out. We're trying to communicate Lego, and sometimes quite refinement to designs, and it's very hard to do that in words. You have to have a lot of patience and quite a bit of understanding. If you see something that seems like it'd be a bit rude, it's probably just Google Translate saying something in a script that's not real.
And I have a son-in-law who's Turkish, and of course I have to complain because my daughter and son-in-law will start talking Turkish, and I know they're talking about me.
Yeah.
And so, I complain about that, but then I see, posts from the family, and his parents, and you're right. Google Translate is, or Facebook in this case, doesn't always really seem to work right. But
it misses the emotive nuance, the nuances that they come through when you're trying to say, hey, I think this is really important to me. That's when it starts to get, Google will say something like, whoa, that's not great. That's not great. It's, things like you must, and it becomes quite instructional, and it's not translating it with the politeness that you're trying to overlay.
And we had a lot of interns over the years. We would host, they were actually college students from Toulouse,
right.
France, an agricultural college. And they worked at my wife's company, not in her department, but we were always open to having that kind of interaction. And we loved having them. And we had about 6 or 7 of them over the years. And one of them, actually, my wife introduced them. They were both from France, both lived in Toulouse, but they were 1 year apart. And she was just bound and determined that they should get together. And so from, whatever, 12,000 miles away, she introduced them. They went out on a date. The next week, they were living together.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Then a year later, they had their first child. A year after that, they got married.
Wow.
And now they had a second child. So
That's awesome.
it was successful.
Yeah, well done.
But I can remember how much their English improved over usually they were here for 3 to 4 months, and they've really become part of the family. They went to stuff that my daughter was doing in high school, or both daughters actually. So yeah, it was. And we had one, he's from Germany, but he was popped in on the show last week, Flo Burkhardt from Germany. So it was fun to hear from him. So how much do you know about the kind of previous? Because it kind of all started, let me bring this up. Kind of all started with this, right?
Yeah, Saturn V.
And
still my favorite.
Reading about the collaboration and getting on to Lego Ideas and looking at that, I knew the name, and then of course I was following her on Facebook in various ways. But then it really goes back to this. Do you know some of the backstory?
I do. I know what Valerie told me, and that's what I'm very happy to share everything I know. So Valerie is aside from being a very gifted Lego designer and builder, is also quite the graphic artist. And there were a number of people back before the Saturn V.
I think this is one of those internet blips we were warned about.
Yep. I think he burped.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So Matthew will be right back. He's warned us of this. He will be right back with us.
Well, luckily this is recorded, right? So we can.
I can edit this out if I really wanted to.
All right, I'm gonna have to go. I have dinner's waiting on me.
Okay.
I gotta pop out. I might be back later.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
See you in a bit.
Lovely. See
See
you
you
later.
See ya. I do have to say, the Saturn V, though, when I built it, was really good. I
Now-
really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And
Such
it's
a good
really,
build.
it's robust, isn't it? I mean, and you kind of, you had played with mine a little bit, but
Yeah, well, because obviously we took it as a sort of a showpiece to Museum of Flight as well. So I got to see what it was then, but when I actually building it for myself, granted, okay, yes, I was in another hotel room building it, but it was really good. It's one of those things you feel like you learn a lot from, and it was the same really for the International Space Station, which is like there behind me. You know, the same. I think we go back to it like every time. The Lego idea set, when you get the instruction book,
yeah,
it gives you so much information on it, and it's so detailed, and it just makes the set so much more than just some bricks in a box, effectively.
well, and and we'll talk more about this as we get deeper into this collaboration, but the this graphic arts all makes sense now, because one of the things that I think sets any project that Valerie is involved in apart is the fact that they have such great images. I mean, where some of them are rendered, and I take it from his comment that was fully in Designer. It probably hadn't been built yet, and yet he built one. So the LUT. So, I get to make the orca.
You get to make an orca.
Blackfish.
Well, you'll be glad to know I managed to successfully move out all the built Lego out of my hotel room in the center of Birmingham. I have not found a place for it yet.
I was going to say, what are you going to do?
I think I'm going to have to rearrange. I've got, currently I have this area where there is the Saturn V, the Ducati, and the Harley. I think I'm going to have to rearrange that area to accommodate another Saturn V for a start. Minnie and Mickey Mouse.
The big one.
Yeah. It's got to fit a little London red bus on there, although, in all honesty, I think that might go into my brick storage areas. And then Buckingham Palace as well. I've got some stuff up there, though, that I do want to break down and put into my brick boxes. Not that I have as many as you. But I'm getting there. Baby steps.
It doesn't have to happen overnight.
No, it just happens when there's a paycheck in my bank account.
Yeah, that's it. That always helps.
It does indeed.
I suppose I should check to see if he's... Oh, yeah. So Joe is being dragged to the hospital because his brother-in-law, and I would assume then his sister, had a baby. So.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. I think are in order from
the
crew and cast.
Well, why would you say my brother-in-law just had a baby girl? Why wouldn't you say, so it would be his sister-in-law had the baby.
Well,
Right.
unless it might be his wife's brother. We could spend ages trying to figure out family semantics here,
Yeah.
relationships, but it could take a while. But anyway, Matthew's back.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, guys. Welcome to Internet in Australia. I know. I can pick up where we were. It's all good.
Okay, you were giving us
That's
the
it.
backstory.
Got it. So I know a little bit of the history. I know what Valerie's filled me in on. So Valerie, as well as being a great Lego builder, is also just a wonderful graphic designer. And there were quite a number of people in the early days of Lego Ideas that she was helping out with doing a bit of graphics work for them. As anyone who's ever done Lego Ideas will tell you, half of it is just trying to make your build look good. And
Right.
and that is hard if you don't have, it's not like me, I didn't have graphic design skills. And that was how she met her co-designer, and I think he had come up with a more rudimentary Saturn V, and then and Valerie's gone, oh, this is actually a pretty cool idea. Could we collaborate on this? And so they did lots of refinements and rebuilds and changes and all that sort of stuff as you do on all your projects, and then submitted it together. I know they've never met, which so puts them in the same sort of category and experience that I'd had for a couple of years. And unfortunately, I don't think they've been able to collaborate since then, but I know they're both super, super, super proud of the Saturn V, and it's just been an amazing success for Lego. It's such a huge seller.
Well, if you think about basically everyone that is in bricks in space, that was their beginning, right? That was their getting that Saturn V. And I think it also, to a certain extent, broke the model or created a new model for how we do rockets, and gave us all different tools. I know I learned a ton when I built it. The
attachment techniques, the curvatures, so having the curvatures seem realistic, the scale, so working, one of the things we do in our project is work really hard on being exact to what the real life thing is. So if we're going to be 1 to 110 scale, we give ourselves a 1/8 of a plate thickness of leeway, which is like nothing. So
Right.
we have to be that accurate. So when we go and put this rocket up next to the picture of the real rocket, they have to really look the same. You can't just be, oh, this one's got really fat wings, or this one's long, and this one's wide. It's got to have it right. And that rigor, it hadn't been there. It was a game changer for Lego.
Yeah.
Really was, back in the day.
Well, and I certainly know that because I'm kind of known for my version.
Very cool.
There's like 4,000 of these out in the world right now. But again, everything I had to start obviously with this. I wasn't, building to scale. And of course, this is too big. This is, the second stage is too small. But, coming up with the proportions, that's a huge thing,
Yeah.
Of course, when you're building micro, and I always tell kids this, you have to find a way to get the mind to ignore those problems, right? You're getting your mind to go. And to me, it was somewhat the stickers, but I think I was really having trouble with the fins. I didn't like any other version. And then all of a sudden, even though they're thick, for some reason, these just connected for me, and they did it. So
I think the real test for any model like that is if someone looks at it, can they tell you straight away what it is? And I can tell you straight away, even on a little screen that's some ways away from me, I guess straight away, that's a Saturn V.
Right.
And if you've pulled that off, then you've achieved it. It's when it stands next to the real one, you're like, oh, that ratio isn't perfect or whatever. We're probably our own harshest critics, right? I know.
Yeah, here you can, there's my little space corner. You can see the.
Nice.
And of course, I got a couple of.
I love the Saturn V there. Beautiful.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of Saturn Vs, and of course I've got one that
I've got mine autographed, so I feel that's
yeah.
That's I'm going to pay off my mortgage on eBay one day with that. When Valerie has when Google mistranslates something and Valerie finally realizes that we should break up. Well, now there you go. I'll put it on eBay and pay off my mortgage. So it's So if you think getting photos is hard, we'd known each other for a couple of years, and obviously collaborated a lot. It was really hard work to go, hit the pen, please on the top of my Saturn V. But yeah, nice to have.
Then the other part that, and I just got a message while you were rebooting, Joe Chambers, who I think he has got the most popular fan-based LUT out there. But he really credits Valerie, and this again wasn't you, right, Matthew? I know that's
so this is actually how we met. This one here was online. I didn't design it, but then I built it, and I actually made a million changes because I didn't have the design, right? I just had these literally the pictures you're actually looking at there are the pictures that I had. So I built that one there from those. But because it wasn't a set, I wanted to try and use pieces that I had here, and also I was looking at the real life version. I was just making changes left, right, and center.
right.
Who wouldn't, right? You just sort of make it your own. And some of those changes have ended up in the final model. So my proudest piece of contribution to Lego history is when you sit on each person's event, and it's true across all the different varieties of LUTs now. The little white box on here, let me pull it up here, I'll show you. There's a little white box that sits on the deck, right? And on the top here are these fan vents.
Yeah.
This is my entire contribution to Lego history. I came up with that. And you know, it was cool because Valerie was straight away, it really surprised me, especially when I realized, I was totally intimidated when I realized that, oh my gosh, this person also designed the Saturn V. I can't even believe they replied to my email, to be honest, beyond that. And they've gone, hey, and I really like some of the changes you're making. Would you like to work with us on refining this model? And again, she had collaborated with someone else, and they were very welcoming as well in working on the LUT. And it was a great experience to be able to sit there and just sort of see some really great builders, how they do it, and how they work and how they teamwork in putting these sorts of things together. It was such a unique experience. And to be honest, if the experience had ended there, I still would be sitting here going, wow, that was the coolest thing ever. But then it got to even go further than that.
Let me see if I can So now I got a little confused. You'll have to help me with this one.
Please.
So when I went on to ideas and I searched for you, and it's interesting. You submitted some where she was obviously part of the team. She submitted some where you're part of the team. And I found two SLSs.
They're both mine.
So this one is definitely both of you, but then there's also one that looks like it was just hers. Is that
from back in the day? Yeah, the mini one. And it's funny. I actually was planning for this for today. I was planning on building a new version of that she has done that looks beautiful. It's been updated enormously. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we haven't got the bricks being delivered here in Australia at the moment. So 2 of my 5 orders are still outstanding, and I thought it wouldn't be super cool to come along and build a third or a half of the I got about 2/3 of the bricks. That one stands. I've got the rocket almost built. It stands about that big. That one there is the 1:110 scale,
right,
which is the Saturn V. This one has just over 2,000 pieces. I think the other one I'm trying to remember maybe had 190 pieces. So it's a different style of build.
Now this one, as you said, you're now a member in right of the 10,000 Club.
Thank you. Yes,
and that is for this project, correct?
No, actually, that was the third project. If that's the 4th project, that one hasn't hit 10,000 yet. That one is sitting at 7,000. It's going very, very well, so we're really happy with it. But yeah, that one's only been online for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months. The first one that got us 10,000 was the SpaceX. We call it the Ultimate Collection. There's actually a story. Right. We originally were just trying to build a Falcon 9. It's a pretty, in hindsight, that's a very simple rocket now. I could build that for you. If I had the parts, I could build it for you in 5. But this one here. So the rocket that is sort of on your on the left hand box there with just a single stick in it, though. The tallest single stick is the left hand photo, right hand rocket is what we were trying to build.
Yep.
And what happened was SpaceX kept changing the game, and it was cool because we were trying to keep up to them. So they had this rumor of so Falcon 9 was flying. It hadn't flown that many times when we had done it, but it was flying pretty regularly. And then there was this rumor they were going to do Falcon Heavy, and then during the project, Falcon Heavy became a reality. And you know how when things work with SpaceX, something that was a good idea yesterday becomes a rocket tomorrow.
Right.
And literally while we were building the Falcon 9, the first photos of Falcon Heavy started to come out. And we're like, oh my gosh. So we decided, because there's a lot of similarities. You probably know Falcon Heavy is basically 3 Falcon 9 strapped together with a single second stage on top. And we're like, well, how hard could it be to, like, you know, we've kind of got the design for a Falcon 9. Let's just build 3 of them. We'll strap them together.
Right.
Much like the real life rocket, that turned out to be a lot harder than we thought it would be, because it's really hard to have any sort of strength to it and to hold them all together. So then just like you stand it up and they just fall apart. I know you're actually standing behind the SLF there now. So then we finished that, and they announced that they were putting a Tesla into it, and we're like, okay, so we're gonna build a Tesla, and we went through the little Tesla Roadster there. We went through about 10 different versions of that before arriving at the finished version there, and then the Dragon became a payload they were going to put on top. And at that point, they were thinking that human spaceflight on the Falcon 9 would be much sooner than what, you know, in history, that's just happened now a couple of weeks ago, but this set was built about 3 years ago. So
right.
We were trying to keep up with that. So we had sort of 2 payloads. It was, you can see the fairing on the left-hand side there, and then the Dragon capsule on the right. So that project quickly morphed from a reasonably straightforward project of a Falcon 9 into 2 different rockets, a couple of different payloads. And then it was like, but how are you going to display it? Because my big bugbear with the Saturn V was, as it started the relationship, was that it had to lie down. So they're like, well, we'll build the thing called the TEL, the Transporter Erector Launcher. And that became a whole other build unto itself. And then we suddenly hit the 3,000 brick limit that LEGO Ideas has, because we had so many different rockets and pieces that we had to dial everything back and strip out anything that wasn't absolutely essential to it. So a lot of the structural things that we were trying to make it all, you know, bulletproof, rocket-proof. It was like a baseball bat at one point. Now it's a little more fragile. But it meant we got under the limit, and we thought it'd be cool to try and put the launch year as the brick count. And that design process, there was actually 3 of us that started in that. It was one of Valerie's previous collaborators, a guy from NASA, who was very nice, but he got busy and with other things in life, as we all do, and he couldn't stay on. So it just ended up becoming Valerie and I that launched that. And that one got to 10,000 in near record time. I think Mojang and maybe one other, so Minecraft and one other had done it quicker than us at the time. I don't know. I'm sure many people have beaten it since then, but it was something like, I don't remember now, it was a few years ago, but it was like 40 days. It went right to 10,000. So we were pretty stoked. And then it was like, well, this is cool. What else can we do? And at the time, the talk was, they were calling it BFR, the Big Falcon Rocket. And there are lots of photos of the design, but they hadn't released anything that was the finished version. They hadn't built it yet. So then we moved on, and that's actually this one here, and the super heavy piece of that is being retooled right now. So the bottom of it here is getting taken apart because they've added some different fins, and they've changed the number there, and they've changed the engine config. So we're pulling that. So that. It was white. We built it and it was white, and we'd finished it, and they changed it to silver the day we were launching it, like on LEGO Ideas. And I'm sure you guys, being LEGO fans, know the enormous range that LEGO has in shiny, silvery bricks, right? Like they just don't have great range.
Huge selection. Yeah.
Huge selection. So I became amateur silver brick painter. And basically what we did was we wanted to acknowledge the change. So we held up the launch for about 4 days. I resprayed and destroyed. I literally, like, we can see the bricks, they're silver still. Destroyed, goodness knows how many pieces of Lego, spraying them silver. Because we just knew if we put it online, it was the wrong color, and you get crucified, right? So
right.
We actually put both versions to sort of acknowledge that it might still be white. Who knows? This was when they made the change from carbon fiber through to the stainless steel.
Right.
And it's now stayed stainless steel. So if I was launching it today, you wouldn't worry about the white version. But it was kind of fun, just sort of being part of that whirlwind that was the rocket coming together and getting caught up with that and seeing what functionality it needed to have. Like, it seemed like every week as we're building that, it would be, and it's got a new fin, or that fin's now changed, or it's got a different number of engines. There was like a huge precedent, and it'd be like, the engine config is this, and we'd go, great, let's build that. And like literally a month later, it'd be like, the engine config's changed again. And I mean, the hours that it would take to put together an engine config like that in such a small space that is structurally sound, you'd be like, that was time well spent. That was great.
And of course, he's having trouble pulling it off right now. So
yeah. So I'm sure they'll get it to work. But it was kind of fun being part of the process. And I was very lucky to be invited over to the launch of the Falcon Heavy, and I was there at the airport. I was at the hotel. We just landed in the States. I was jet lagged out of my brains, and we landed, and I had a few of the kids with me, and we were going to the launch. Hopefully that day. It ended up being a couple of days later. Got delayed, and Elon Musk tweeted out about the project, and we were like, "Holy Jimbos! This is like our Lego project has got Elon Musk's tweet." Excited about that, and. And then we got to see the launch. So it was really cool seeing the launch of Falcon Heavy rocket.
So did SpaceX fly you in then for that?
I wish. Next time. No, just a invite to come over. I got some cool T-shirts and some patches, and a nice hat. They were very kind. They did not, unfortunately, fly us over there, but it was a good holiday anyway. Any excuse to go to a rocket launch, right? Don't say no, right? That's what's it. No. There's certain things in life, if you ever get the opportunity to do it, you should definitely do it. And going to a rocket launch is just spectacular. So we're very fortunate to see that.
I don't know if you saw, but one of the things I'm known for is a 12-foot tall Saturn V.
I've seen that. It's big. That's big.
It's very big. And Sam actually helped build one of them. There's two of them in the world.
I was going to say, what are you building two for?
One was built in Boise and the other one was built in Seattle.
Right.
But I'd like to do the SpaceX, So do you have his email by chance? Should I send
I've got a cell phone. Do you want that?
I could.
He loves phone calls from, make sure it's at odd hours though. Don't call him during 9 to 5. That's not fun.
Okay.
Yeah, wake up his new baby.
Right.
Our biggest claim to fame is he tweeted our project. We're not getting cell phones.
Right.
I have the T-shirt.
Yeah. I don't know how to say that name. That's
Elon Musk?
No, his baby's name.
Don't even ask. I got nothing for you. Actually, you know what? In all seriousness, they were actually really great to us. And I would say that's true across the space community. I have zero space credentials. I work in finance, right? What I know about space is reminiscing from a childhood of watching shuttle launches and being a fan. That's it. And we did this design of the rocket, and part of our challenge is when you're designing a rocket that hasn't launched yet. It's a little easier with Saturn V. And when it's something new, is you just need measurements, you need distance, right, and big, and you also need to know the functionality. So one of the things we've been really careful about doing is if there's a detachment point, like second stage that detaches, or if it comes apart that way, like a fairing, ours has to as well. And it has to be able to hold things inside that. It can't just be all structural inside. And to do that, we've really had to lean on the engineers at these space companies to help us out. And they've always been busting to help. It's been amazing to see that they would actually take us on board. It doesn't hurt that we can say Valerie is the co-designer of the Saturn V, and they've all got
exactly.
But they are super generous with their time, their feedback. Every one of these models has gone to engineers that are actually making that rocket beforehand, before the public sees it, to say, what did we get wrong? Where are we missing it? What's not correct here? Tell us something that maybe something that's coming up that hasn't been released yet. They'll go, you might want to just do the engine count to 7 again. Just go back to 7, because 7's maybe where we're going to land. And like 2 weeks ago, they announced they'd gone to 9, and it's like, oh, okay. So very kind to us on that sort of stuff, and helping us out with reference photos, and then helping us out with promoting it. Just the number of votes. So if it's a SpaceX rocket, the number of votes that came from SpaceX people or Blue Origin or NASA, they've been very kind and supportive, which we can't thank them enough for.
How did you connect with? And this is the one that is in review, correct?
That's in review right now. That's
Yep.
Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket. That will take people to the moon in only a handful of years. So that's being built right now. The fairing was on YouTube a few months ago now, going out, and it's a good looking rocket. And they've got there's a few these little guys here. I don't know if you can see the samples over here. These are the little modules that go inside there. They fold up. Oh, yeah, that way. They fold up inside, and this is the Big Brother version of it. That'll take people. So that's Blue Moon Heavy. That one. That'll take people to the moon, and then let them drive around and have some fun. So these payloads will go inside. In which ones? And I think your question was, how did we connect with them?
Yeah.
Well, if any of them spoke French, we're going to throw that to Valerie, but we didn't actually have that experience. It was all and it was generally over Twitter or LinkedIn or just off the internet in general. But most of the time it was over Twitter. I'm trying to think of other places where they connected with us, and it was almost always them reaching out to us if it was a second project, or if it was a first project, us reaching out to them. So that was kind of the order. We would, if you just Google SpaceX engineer, if you go to LinkedIn, and just drop them a really polite note, like a short polite note, just going, "Hey, building this rocket, we'd love to get your feedback before we get it launched." Because you don't want to launch something that's bad, right? Like that'd be nothing more embarrassing than that. And yeah, sure, plenty don't respond, but inevitably some would. And then once you've launched it, the ones that you've only connected with a handful of them, the ones that had never heard from you suddenly have this huge interest in what you're building, and want to give you some guidance, or give you some tips, or even just give you a helping hand. So I've had interviews like this with Blue Origin. We're sitting there doing video conferencing calls, sitting there talking about the model and how they can help, and what they want to do to make sure it's a smooth review process for LEGO. I couldn't imagine that. I just couldn't imagine that a couple of years ago, or a few years ago now. They're smart, articulate people. They understand the value that LEGO brings to the table with educating people about the rocket, about educating people about space just in general and space travel. They're all space nuts like I am. They want people they want to open that frontier up, and one of the to do that is LEGO. It gets the kids in, it gets them understanding it, it gets them appreciating it. So if you look at your Saturn V, the functionality you've got there, similar to these ones here. If you were going to go and buy a New Glenn rocket, you can go and pull it apart and see what the real one does. You can see all the functionality. Stage 1, Stage 2 separates, the fairing separates, the payloads are all in there. And what an educational experience for someone who wants to learn about rockets, that they can go, I know how a rocket works, in functionality.
I do a lot of STEM education. I'm a recovering mechanical engineer. And I'm a little older than you because I grew up watching Saturn V's launch. So,
yeah, I missed it by that much.
Yeah. But I do a lot of STEM events, and I found that if I just show them, if I was just going to show them a PowerPoint with some incredible pictures, they'd be asleep, right? Yep. But I get 4 or 5 of them up in the front of the room, and I'm using the Saturn V, and I go through the process, and the kids are absolutely mesmerized, right? My daughter said memorized when she was a kid, so we kind of default to that pronunciation. And it is so much fun to do it that way. The kids just really get it all of a sudden, because I was on a bit of a mission because too many kids thought we went to the moon on the space shuttle. And that's just wrong. So.
Yeah. It's funny when you talk to people about what the likelihood of going to space is. Like I'm 48, and there's a decent chance if I wanted to later on in life I could go up to space if I had the money. like that'll become something that 20, 25 years from now is quite doable. My parents and their parents never had that as a dream. It just wasn't an opportunity. Maybe Saturn V, if those missions had kept going to Saturn 25, maybe it would have been that window's closed. So I find it interesting that people, generally speaking, aren't as aware of what that opportunity holds, and that it's jobs, there's industries, there's enormous amounts of money being not just invested, but being made in those industries right now. That if you're looking at what's soaking up good engineers, space is a big employer right now.
Well, and I think I still don't have my jetpack, and I was promised one.
I want my flying car, damn it! Exactly.
We get these stupid computers, but we don't get the really good stuff, right? So
yeah.
Well, this is it. In 2015, we were meant to have self-lacing shoes, jackets with funky arms,
Right.
You watch Back to the Future enough times.
Yeah, I feel good on that. Michael J. Fox, if you're watching, where is it?
Where is it, man? Where is it?
Yeah, always got better things. It is kind of fun being just a tiny part of that. And I know the number of people that see these that then go and do.
Oh no!
I think that's number 2. We need a little counter in the corner.
Joey.
2.
We need one of those. We'll be right back.
Yeah, look, I've removed him for now, but we need a little technical screen. We're experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah. Well, and that used to be a really normal thing back in the, true broadcast TV.
Yeah.
I remember my mom actually did artwork, and she would do signs, and then they would record the signs. And then that, like, she did sales at local stores that, it was very local, but then she had to do one of those, we're experiencing difficulties. And then they had that ready so that they could put it up if they needed it. But so thinking about, having an artist do those, taking a picture of it, that was the epitome of the technology at the time. And she had to get them done, usually that day, and then she would drive them down to the station. It's wild to think about now.
It is, yeah. Especially when you think, I can just send that over via email.
Right. I got it. An orca.
Oh, he looks very happy.
He's a happy orca. Maybe he's just fed.
Is that a completed Pirates of Barracuda Bay?
It is.
Did you enjoy that?
It was fabulous. It's huge too. I don't think my cord's long enough to. It's much bigger than I expected. Lots of fun details.
Yeah.
And it can make a ship. In fact, the last bag is parts that you need to make it into a ship. The parts that become the bag, become the ship. So
yeah,
and it tells you the things to take off, the things to put back on.
Oh, that's good.
It's but yeah, no, it was. Now it's got me. I think I want to go and try and find all the parts for the original pirate ship, because I know I've got them, and if not, I've probably got alternatives.
Yeah,
I don't think I got the pirates anymore. Those, because I did kind of purge a lot of minifigs.
Yeah,
but I'd like to build that ship, because the build technology on this is actually pretty robust. A bunch of, in fact, I looked at doing this for my Saturn V. They're like 10-inch axles.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really super long. Okay. Oh, I see. I thought you put that we're experiencing trouble, but yeah. So
no.
like my stream and please subscribe.
Thought it was a good opportunity.
That's right. I just had somebody ordered 5 Saturn V.
No, 5.
5.
That's. Don't forget,
DC, and apparently
if you
for Kali, I don't know if it's going to be a team building exercise or. Of course, they contacted me thinking I'd give them a discount.
And you went, nah, you're right.
And then I kind of forgot that automatically it was free shipping because it was over $40. So I guess I did give them a discount.
There you go.
But it was
head to Etsy.com shop. Idea Brickworks. Spend over $40 with Scott.
Remember,
free shipping.
Yes. And I just sent another one to the UK.
Oh.
When was that?
It wasn't to me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. No, it wasn't me.
But yeah. And it
wasn't my dad either.
How long did you say it took to get to your dad?
Got to bear in mind, when you send it to my dad, that was literally the start of coronavirus.
Oh, that's true.
Lockdown and everything like that. So it did take a little longer. I think it took a little over 3 weeks. But it was literally the start of the lockdown and the coronavirus. So I think now that we're a little more into things, it's going to be a little better. But
well, and the reason I even brought it up because Etsy does have this new option that is significantly less money if you're not in a hurry. Because international shipping has gotten pretty inconsistent. Let's just say, to be charitable. And so I don't send it to the person. I send it to this location. They aggregate everything that's like going to the UK. It ships, I guess, on a different method.
Yeah.
And then it gets there and then it's posted by the local post office. But it avoids that international exchange, right? So it basically it's changing hands 3 times, but in a more, I guess, consistent method.
Cool. Well, I'm just thinking I might order some race cars from your shop.
Well, for God's sakes, do it before I could get them with. Well, I just read that, or Sarah just said she's going to drive to Road America.
Yeah, I think she's staying out.
Yep.
So I think my aim is at one point, Scott, to own all of the Scott Bowman collection, as I call it. Have a shelf. Can go alongside some of my stuff that I'm building, my TSL van.
Okay.
And we have Matthew back with us.
Glad you're editing this.
You called it. It's your fault.
I know. It's on me. It's on me. Where were we? We're talking about something very interesting. Very pleased to be a small part of learning about space. That's where
there
we are.
Yeah.
Which is probably a nice segue into, we've gone completely away from space now. So we've done everything. We kind of have succeeded in doing everything we wanted to do. We wanted to do all the heavy lift vehicles that were out there. And then it was like, well, what do we do as the next project? We were really enjoying collaborating together, Valerie and I. And we exchange notes every day on email about builds. So you kind of miss it after a while. And then when you finish the build, it's about promoting it and getting it out there on Twitter or on Facebook,
right,
on websites and even programs like this. So well, what could be our next project? And so at the time, Godzilla had a movie coming out. I think this July, so about now, it's supposed to be out, and it had finished filming, so even with a bit of COVID around, we were sort of thinking it would still come out. And so we built this sort of in the lead up to that, but unfortunately, of course, the movie's been delayed, I think, like about a year. So it'll be around probably when this thing hits 10,000. So but it's our first non-rocket. And Valerie had done some builds on non-rockets. For me, this is quite uniquely different from what we had done before. I had built maxi figs. I don't know whether you can see on the shelf there. There's a big Homer there. There's a big Boba Fett. There's a Batman and a Benny and an Emmett around the house, and Groot. But they were kind of following a format of the style that was that big. You remember the blue guy in the overalls? Do you remember that? Yeah. So they were kind of at least following the style of that look, even though they obviously had some uniqueness to them. But this was really uniquely different, and we leant heavily on the functionality they built for the Jurassic Park set, the really big T-Rex, and we want to be able to achieve at least that level of functionality. So that meant you have to have movable arms, and we wanted movable elbows as well, and fingers, and we wanted the head because Godzilla usually is standing up, walking, and facing forward, but we wanted her to be able to put the head up straight and do the big bellow as she does. And then with the legs, there's a lot of weight there, and we wanted the legs. This is where we used what they'd done in the T-Rex set, and then they'd actually got that off Lego Ideas, ironically, the hinge joint inside that has like 110 pieces per leg just in the joint to hold it in place so it can support the weight and yet still be mobile.
Right.
And we wanted to then with bendable knees, bendable ankles, and even toes. And then the tail, which is the tail section, has some funk inside it as far as how to make that flexible and yet able to stay attached and be posable as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's gone well. We only listed that very recently. It's been just a matter of weeks, and it passed 1,000 overnight, which we're really excited about. So it's getting some support, and hopefully it'll get to the 10,000. The thing to know is for Lego Ideas is anyone will tell you is that they're looking for your ideas. So I've got no doubt if they were going to take it, they would change this and make it even better. But yeah, we'd be excited if we could get it to review.
So I do have a friend who did get his made. So Jake Sadovich is in our Lego user group, and he is the ship in the bottle.
Oh, nice. I have the ship in the bottle downstairs. I love that.
And it was kind of fun because we saw it at a couple of shows that we had put on, his original that he ended up submitting. And we were saying, hey, you should really get on Ideas. And so he got on Ideas, but it was like to find the 4 pieces. It's an old mold, but it did exist to get the 4 tops of the bottle. And but he was able to find one. I can't remember what the last one cost him, but it was like way too much money. But he was able to get them on Bricklink, and then of course it was in that 40 days time span or something. And but yeah, he sure had a lot of fun doing that.
I really liked his version even better than the one that came out as a set. But I fully appreciate the one that came out as a set has to be commercialized, has to be current pieces, all that sort of stuff. But we try harder these days to include only pieces that are sort of more generally available. But I would still say I have an absolute love of finding the odd bit where I just needed something that could do this unique little shape, and I find a piece from 1980 that came out in one set, and I'll go on Bricklink out, and I will buy out the entire world supply of 1 or 2 or 3. And I have a little Ziploc baggie of Technic flippers, and if you don't know what they are, don't worry because no one else does either. Okay. And at one point we were going to use those for the grid fins on the Starship, and it was actually on the Falcon Heavy, I think it was. And yeah, I mean, we didn't have using them, but I bought out the world supply of 7 at the time. I'm sure there since then. But yeah, that's a unique thing, and that's kind of fun. That is part of the research bit. There's 2 elements to it that you're sitting there and you're trying to find just the right piece of Lego that fits, and then you're trying to get the Lego to make exactly the shape that is perfect. And making something round that's big, that's stable, like a big rocket, to get that diameter exactly 1 to 110 has been really challenging on some of the rockets. On the silver one here, I called it the donut. We're making a donut. For 2 weeks, I sat on my kitchen table trying to make a donut that would be exactly the circumference that we needed, that would the pieces exactly and be round. And eventually you crack it, right? Like, it can be done. You just got to keep trying different combinations. Right. You get your ruler out and go, I think this one's really close. You get your ruler out and you're like, I'm like a millimeter out. Like, that's miles out. In that game, if you're a millimeter out, you've missed it by like 10K. So, but yeah, it's a bit of persistence, and then trying to find the pieces to make that up afterwards. Is sometimes if you're relying on something that was really unique, and you're like, now I need like 200 of that or 400 of that. And you're like, yeah, there isn't even that many on Bricklink, and you're trying to work out, can you maybe repaint a piece or something like that, which we hate doing. You see the top of SLS here. This piece only came in grey and trans light blue. And then this piece only came in that dark orange color, but we needed it white. Damn it! So we had to paint one orange and paint the other one white, and that was just to get that shape just as perfect, and to have the fairing be able to separate. That were the pieces we had to use, and that's the way it goes sometimes. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
I'm going to go grab something. I'll be right back. So, Sam, you entertain our guest.
Okay, I'm on it.
On it.
All right, Sam. Let me ask you a question. We just met today, right? Like, for those watching, we're not. Have you ever heard the Lego wooden duck quack?
No.
And neither had I. And I was like, it doesn't even quack. Like they say it's the quacking duck, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, it was made in like 1935 or something, it doesn't quack. And so not that long ago, maybe a month or two ago, I had the opportunity to get one of the ducks. And so I thought we might see if we can make it quack, because they don't roll super well. They roll okay, but they're very smooth. The wheels are actually just round. Well, here, let me show you. The wheels are just round pieces of wood. And so they don't actually roll super well. On a table like this, it just slides along and just grinds the paint off, which is I find that really good for the investment. So I've been experimenting on what I could use to make it quack, and I honestly haven't actually solved it. But this morning I was getting ready for this, and I was like, what about the cushion cover? So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to try a cushion cover, which sounds kind of stupid, and we're going to make the duck quack. And we're never going to tell Scott we did this, all right? We're just absconding with each other. Scott, just make yourself busy, really.
Okay.
Let me see if we can do this. Sorry. And I've got someone knocking at my door. You're going to have to wait a second.
All right.
One sec.
I've not seen one of those wooden ducks in a long time.
Now, is that a real Lego version?
Yeah, it's one of the Lego wooden ducks. One of the proper old ones.
Yeah. And he's got one. Wow.
Yeah. I've just realized he's got an Imperial Walker behind him as well.
And I think that's a little bigger than the Lego version.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. All right, where were we, guys?
Okay, quack.
We'll see if we can do it. I don't know. Let's see if this works. It worked pretty well. There you go. Lego duck does quack.
So how did you get one of those?
That's the real question.
There's a former duck owner that mysteriously died recently. I can't say anything about it. I don't know anything. I was questioned, but I can't confirm it.
You ran fast enough.
Yeah, exactly right. He was slower than I was. No, so just, a lot of hunting around, and I had a few offers that were. The thing with the ducks is they're super fragile. Like they're made in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. This one's actually the version 4. It was made 1948 to 1956. This was made, But the little bits of wood here are really thin. The paint is super fragile, and the sticker will come off if you sneeze near it. So yeah, so I don't know how so many of these have survived. I guess they just made lots and lots of them. And the more simple ones are the ones that don't have the quacking mechanism underneath. But this one's got like a mechanical element on the wheel, and then this little rod here that makes the quacking sound. And so yeah, lots of hunting around, lots of asking people, lots of research, because you want to make sure you get the real one, right? If you're going to spend money.
Yeah, definitely.
And then an auction house in Denmark had one come in, and I was like, you know what? I think I'd like to get that. So the rest is history. But they're around.
It's going to be an anniversary version that you can get at the Lego house.
I have one coming to me. I have a friend who's picked one up for me. It's in the mail right now, and I was actually kind of hoping that would be the knock at the door. Yeah.
I did get the Tree of Life because
Did
I had
you?
a friend.
You like that? That's good set.
Yeah.
The real tree. That's a huge tree. What's that?
It's
the biggest
a huge tree.
It's huge. Where are you, Mr. B? How are you, Mr. B? Where's your latest picture? The design. Can you share?
Yeah.
You get online every week or so, and I'm always amazed at it.
Hang on.
Well, and Joe Chambers, who it turns out he is attending the birth of a child of his relative. So
right.
We'll go with
one
that.
of the things I like about this, and I think I'm going to challenge people, is there's lots of leaves that don't have anything on them. So I've already added a couple of micro things that I do. And
Nice.
So I think I'm going to put a challenge out there that if you've got a tree, put your own stuff on it, you know?
Have you got a stopwatch on there?
Yeah.
You need one of those now you're a timekeeper.
A duck?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, straight away. Just go for a micro duck. Perfect.
Do it.
Unfortunately, my model isn't micro. He's a little bit bigger.
Oh.
So Sam and I are now colleagues.
Oh,
I actually work. I'm a gig work, so in my retirement, I just need to reduce my expenses, which means
Stop
getting
buying
somebody
Lego.
to pay for my Lego, and and the Porsche that's out in the garage, that too. But so I'm working for his company, but in the United States. So
What's the company?
TSL Timing Solutions Limited.
And what do we do, Scott?
They are the world's eminent timekeepers of professional motorsports.
wow. There you
Oh,
go.
that's fun.
I'll
So
go
you can
with
get-
that. That makes it sound good.
Hey, I just, I ran a big firm. I know how to market.
I'd say if you don't know how to market, it's really hard to work on Lego ideas. I would say that.
Yeah.
If you're breaking up a Lego Ideas project, you got a research period that everyone misses. That you got to do a lot of research to get the idea spot on. Then you got your design, rebuild, and maybe a few more rebuilds phase. Then you got your photography phase and working on that. But then the bit that is so often overlooked is that marketing bit. You have to be promoting it all the time. If you're not, the number of emails that we would, the people that we would communicate with that run influential sites in the Lego world would be at least 20 or 30 a month to get the 10,000 votes that you need. If you can list the best idea, but if no one ever hears about it, it's not going to matter.
And I noticed that you guys always do a Facebook page for your, with kind of a dedicated page just to the project.
Yeah, we divide and conquer on the promotion. So I write the copy. Valerie does Facebook. I do Twitter. And I do just other people who might talk to. I got a big spreadsheet of all the different other people who might talk to. That might be about space people, or with Godzilla, it's people who are big in Godzilla land. and just to get them aware of the project, and hopefully that they'll show some interest in it. But yeah, the Facebook thing is still a bit of a mystery to me, to be honest. I have actually started using Facebook only recently. I set up a page maybe like 10 years ago and never logged into it. And so more recently I've gotten into it because there's a group called the Pre-1975 Lego group. And that is some really interesting stuff that they have come in there. And they were great at helping me with the doc of, what to look for. And make sure you're getting the real deal. I did this little thing here. I'll show it. I'll put it here. I set myself a goal of getting a piece of Lego from each of the time periods of Lego. And I thought it would be like, 12 pieces of Lego. But this is what I ended up building over these last couple of months of COVID, where it's the automatic binding bricks in 1949 all the way through to the modern era brick of 2012. And you can see all the different variations there. There's a up and down version of each one.
Right.
But just fun, just so I can sort of show the kids, products aren't they're not static, they just change all the time. And you can see each little design iteration makes the product just that little bit better, that little bit stronger, that little bit squarer, that little bit better able to connect and be reliable. So yeah, so it was just a bit of fun. And they were really cool in helping me do that. Again,
Lego is used in industrial engineering as an example of how to do injection molding. I mean, they are really eminent in the world for the way they do it and the precision that they're able to maintain.
Yeah. I grew up, so I'm in Australia, and I grew up with a fair bit of Samsonite Lego. And I don't have any here nearby. I don't, but it is just, it's special to build with. I can give the strongest man in the world 3 bricks, and I'll connect them together just a standard set of 3. And you'll get the first one off pretty easy. That last pair, and then they're coming apart. They are just so badly made. But yeah, you're right. They have an exceptional quality reputation that is well deserved and established over many, many years.
So, Mr. B has, let me add.
Please, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, so this is what I've been banging my head against the wall for a while.
So my question for you is, when are you going to build it in real Lego?
That's a really great question. Do you have a lot of money you could just give me?
I'm going to give you a port today. It's just sitting in a garage of a guy I know, and he's not
he doesn't seem to be using it.
No, he's got a new gig. Apparently, he's going to buy another portion a couple of weeks off that. So, that is awesome. The thing that having built some stuff like that, so we've done really miniaturized versions of that with like the launch tower for Blue Origin's one and also Falcon, is people don't appreciate to get that symmetry. The way you've got that built is just so impossibly hard, and to do it, I still don't know how people use LDD. One of the things we haven't actually touched on is Valerie builds in LDD. I build in bricks. And I genuinely have tried to use LDD and I just can't get it to work for me, even though I'm fine with computers, but I just can't get it to work. And Valerie doesn't do real bricks. So we've had this language where, because obviously English is not the best language, where we have the photos. So at the end of the day, I'll get out the camera, take a photo of what I've built, and send it over with, some arrows or some commentary what's changed, and then she will send it back, with the pieces that have changed in green or red or something like that. So yeah, that is just wild. That is absolutely wild. Well done.
Well, and Joe Chambers is building parts of it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He's built just the structure right around where the LUT sits.
Yeah.
But I'm not even sure if this is going to be able to hold its own weight.
I can't comment on that one, but I can comment on some of ours that we've built them in real bricks, and you're like, oh man, it's all bowing. Stop. We have had that moment more times than I can count, where it looks cool in LDD, and then you're like, the weight. Lego, that clutch power, but also the bend that happens in Lego. I had never really appreciated how much Lego bends when you put weight on it with a stream of weight.
Yeah. So I was going to show you, this is the Here, let me. I'm going to turn you off for just a minute here.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, so this is a test section.
Yes. That's our donut. That's the equivalent of our donut. Yeah, we get it.
So that's the Saturn V, and this is a demonstrator that kind of shows how everything is brick built.
Yeah.
There are no stickers on it, the flag. And then this is the building with air, so it's all Technic structure all the way up through. And then it's really pretty tough because of the vertical, which again is kind of a trick to know how many bricks, and then how vertical on the lift arms. But
did you build that in sections and then attach them, or did you build it from the ground and build it straight up?
It's in 9 pieces now, but it's built by kids in, I call them lifts, of 5 bricks each.
Right.
Usually there'd be 2 groups of kids. It'd take about an hour to build each segment. The layout's pretty tough to get it the first layer, then you get the second layer on. And then they came into me, I put them together, then they'd come into the sections. But one of the things I've noticed on the oldest one, which the oldest one is from 2018, I'm going to have to replace the bottom layer of bricks because I have a armature that goes through it, but the armature really is not taking any weight. So the 300 some pounds of brick are all resting on the bottom, and I'm starting to see degradation, on that bottom layer. So I think I'm going to replace that lower level of brick with plates. But it does, and I also discovered that as you go between the sections now, very few studs are engaged because the weight is more than enough. So I have very few studs engaged until it gets to the very top. And I am now redesigning it for the 6th time. Not exactly sure why I'm doing it the 6th time, but I am designing in some locks. Now there'll be secret push through so that, because I found I need to do the 3rd stage all as one, and then I don't need an 8-foot ladder to put the back through it, which is kind of hard in the Lexus, in my SUV. I can fit the Saturn V, but the ladder is kind of tough.
Put it in the trunk of your Porsche, should be fine.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. We when we were originally doing what's the first one? Was the Starship. We built it in 8 stud long sort of extended donuts, and then we would connect them together. But we quickly found exactly what you're saying there. The bottom one's taking all the weight, and then you're trying to work out, well, how do you distribute that? So we found we had to run a much longer plate up along the internals and the side to spread that load a little bit, because that bottom donut quickly started billowing out, and it just couldn't do it. And that was with the super heavy, bottom of the super heavy just didn't work. And then we quickly also found that if we were making mods to it, we needed a quick way to be able to rip it apart and put it back together, because if you're taking too long, so we built these side pieces like this so the whole side could just come away really quickly. Back on. Then you can put that back on in no time at all and be back.
Oh, wow.
You've gone and adjusted, one row if you needed to. And then you're back in business like that. So just that sort of, you learn the lesson, and it sounds like you've done a really great job there. And that's a much bigger build than ours. So well done.
34,000 brick.
Wow. So in one sense, so Lego Ideas has a limit of 3,000, and it's a blessing and a curse, because you're always bouncing up against it with a big build, but it is an absolute blessing, because I know if they said it was 5,000, if they said it was 7,000, we'd be bumping up against it as well. It would cost me a lot more money in real bricks. But when you see a brick that's been, a rocket that's been built that maybe is 2,000 bricks, that probably actually really represents about 4,000 or 5,000 bricks behind the scenes that have had to be bought to try and make it work, because we made mods to it over the time, and you buy some extras because one might come and it's a bit off color, or it's not working for you. I'm going to apologize. I've just realized I'm down to 5% battery. I'm just going to grab my power cord for a second, but please continue.
Okay. All right.
I've had people tell me I need to submit my pad to the Lego Ideas.
But just the pad is.
Oh
more-
yeah, it would definitely not.
It wouldn't meet
hit
the
their cart
criteria.
limit. Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Little-
I thought about another way that we might be able to get it built. Would be to do a collaborative build and then end up at a show and then put it all together.
Yeah, I've thought of something similar, of like having one, like you do 2 or 3 sections and have someone else do 2 or 3 sections.
Hmm.
But I mean, even one block is like 2,000 or 3,000 pieces just in that one bit.
Well, and you know, there are people building that big for conventions all the time. You know, that's not that unusual. The neat thing about doing a collaborative build is being able to get many more people to do that.
I think the cool thing with doing a collaborative build is you can divide and conquer. Find the bits you like doing, find the bits you're interested in most, and hopefully find someone else who's interested in the rest. And it's like, you know, there's the graphics work was very heavily done by Valerie in the early days, and more recently I've been jumping in as well. We're doing it together, but oh man, in the early parts it was really hard to make the rocket look good. You might have done all the best work in the world, but what I think looks good graphically is not even close to what the good projects are doing on Lego Ideas. So it's a real knack to be able to make them look, attractive and visual. And then they come up as a little tiny thumbnail, right? So you're going to make that tell the story at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have just put this little guy together. And these are, I don't know how well you can see that, but these are Grange mouth bricks. And they're real Lego, but they're marbled bricks that a bunch of naughty employees. So in the UK, it was the Lego wasn't manufactured by Lego. It was
We need that.
3.
You missed the one in the middle, Mr. B.
What was that?
We had one other. He dropped out while you were eating.
Mm-hmm. Man,
I'll see if he comes back. I don't think he will. I'll have to reset again.
Man, I can't imagine how frustrating that must be.
He did say the Australian government had cheaped out on him, so
It's a real shame.
Now, Australia is no longer part of the United Kingdom, correct?
in what way?
I think we just had this conversation.
I think we did at the end in
Oh, we
our
were talking
green
about
room show.
Yeah, but we were talking about Canada, I thought.
Part of the Commonwealth.
Okay.
It's, you know, they have their own government and legal system and all that sort of stuff, but they are part of the United Kingdom Commonwealth, and I'm sure I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, because they still have the monarchy here in Britain,
Okay.
just like Canada. That's why the Queen is on some of the notes in Canada.
Now, is there, like, do you need anything in your passport to go to Australia or Canada or?
No, I still have to go under the same rules like you would do to go to Canada, or someone from France would. I still need to get a, I have to get an ESTA if I'm traveling to the US. I have to get, in Canada they call it an ETA. Australia I've never actually been, so I don't know. maybe there's an opportunity to go to Australia in my future. Who knows? But I imagine that again will be very much you need something to say to go. I can go to France at the moment with just show my passport, walk in, not a problem. But now we're leaving the EU, can't do that anymore.
Well,
I have to fill in a bit of paper.
We never needed anything in our passport. We didn't have to get a visa or anything. But now, of course, we're persona non grata for all sorts of nasty reasons.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone that I might do some collaboration. Well, actually, commission, do some designs for some kits, and they're in a border town, and he said their economy's hurting, but he wants to open a Lego store. He's going to open an independent retailer because there's nothing around, and he said the Walmart is awful. So nobody's really bringing in anything worth
getting.
No?
Nice. That'll be good.
And he wants to do custom kits. And so basically I get paid to do the instructions and the design, and then they take it from there. So
I'm gonna have to start work on your portfolio page on your website soon.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what? That would have been a great thing to do when I was stuck in quarantine for 2 weeks.
Well, but you're busy doing work too, so.
I know. It's all I ever do. Work, work, work. But hey, you can do it now for me, Scott, now that you're doing Sonoma. You've got it all covered.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to meet this Brad. I don't know his background yet.
He looks familiar. I'm sure he does. I'm very sure he looks familiar.
This is a business you run, Sam, right?
I don't run it, no.
You'd like to.
Whoa, easy now. People from the company might watch this. No, it's a company I work for here in the UK. I found them a couple of years ago on a part-time basis, and they've sort of brought me on board a couple of years back onto a full-time basis, and I now do motorsport events as a timekeeper and as an infrastructure engineer. So I'm going out and building the network and the systems that they need to be able to do it. And I crack on and say, right, now we got Scott here working for us. Scott, this is what I do. You can do it now.
Yeah.
Teach Scott how to do it.
And that's not going on.
Good. As long as no one's good at keeping time here, we should be fine that no one notices.
So do you have to redo your router each time?
It just reboots itself. Yeah. It's like just craps itself and reboots and has to reconnect. It's pretty frustrating. Anyway.
I didn't say it this time, Sam.
Nah, I'm going to let that one slide. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here. Just crack on.
Yeah, you're a trooper, buddy. You're a trooper. All right, wait. We're doing this. So I just put this little guy, and this is these are Grangemouth bricks, which they're real Lego. They were made on some Lego molds at Borg Warner in Grangemouth, hence where they get the name of the brick. And basically, the story goes they were making the pellets, little ABS pellets, CA pellets for Cooltown, who had the license in the UK. So at the time, Lego didn't make their own Lego around the world. This was actually made for the UK market. I think some of it even came to Canada and Australia. So at night, the story goes that a couple of employees were scraping up the bottom bits off the ground and throwing them in the top of the hopper and seeing what came out. And the bricks are really, every one of them is unique, but they really are just the craziest colors. Let's see if I can get you in there. And so at the back end of that, they started giving them away to kids, family, friends, I'm sure. I don't think they ever sold them, but they certainly gave away lots of them. And they did this for like a year or two. It was 1978 to 1979. And eventually Lego got wind of it because all these kids are rocking these blocks that don't look anything like Lego. They do say Lego, they have Lego mold numbers and all the structures, right? But the colors are definitely wrong. And there's differing stories, but the story basically, the fact is that not long after that, the mold disappeared from Borg Warner. They did not have the line. So you can decide whether that was because they got busted or whether that was because they were due to lose them anyway. But they're today they've been a really fun thing to collect over this COVID period. When I went into them, I thought, that's just the coolest thing. I should get a couple of those. And when you get a couple, you're like, I just want a couple more. And before you blink, you I still have space here for a couple more. So if anyone watching this has some, so I just put these just so I can say this. That if anyone watching has some and they'd like to get in touch, you know where to find me. I'm very keen to hear from you. Most of the time they find them in some old teacher's attic or something like that in Scotland. So they were mostly distributed around Edinburgh and Glasgow and that sort of part of the world. But they're definitely a unique part of Lego's history and kind of a fun one to collect because there's so many different colors and variations. But everyone's a little bit unique as well.
That is, I did not know that.
There's a red and grey flamey style one on eBay for £60 at the moment.
That one there. So this is not one of his bricks, and I'm not that person selling it. I've never sold a piece of Lego in my life, but that's the brick that they're selling for I'm talking Aussie dollars, £60. So to put that in perspective, that is the most common Grangemouth you can get.
Really? It says rare.
Yeah. So I can put you if someone watching wants to get in touch, I put you in touch with a guy who's helped me get probably a third of these or half of these. Really nice. So no complaints. It's just a really nice guy. Look for him on Flickr. Flickr's probably the best spot to reach out to him, but he's also on numerous Facebook groups. Really nice, and he has by far and away the biggest collection. I might have, I don't know, a dozen or so bricks. He has hundreds of bricks, and for the more common ones, I'm sure he'd be happy to fix you up with a nice red one that I would say. His price would be a lot less than that one. That's kind of getting crazy for a single brick.
I was going to say, yeah, for a single brick, you can go on Bricklink and buy loads.
Exactly bricks. I got a delivery the other day of plain white 2x4s for a build I'm doing, and it's like giant boxes, but because they're just plain bricks, there wasn't a lot of money there. It's just a lot of bricks that take up a big part of your garage. We have a duck exhibition coming up, so I built all these little yellow ducks, and now I need to build the big dad and mum duck.
Stand by.
He's going to show you his duck.
Oh, I like it. All right. It's time to have a duck off. You're gonna have to give me a second.
I don't know. That sounds worse than swearing. Actually, I'm not quite sure about that.
No, it's fine. Duck off is a perfectly acceptable term. Okay. We actually use it in the company quite a lot.
This was I don't know whether you can just see the flower there. So this was the one that we sort of started with, and then we took that design and went, well, we can have some fun with it.
Okay, what's that ball under the AT-AT?
But that's the bad version of BB-8 that's in Star Wars.
That is a
BB-19.
BB-19. So there you go. We built the plain one, and then we thought, well, we can strap rockets to it. So we put and he's got skates on the feet.
Look at that.
And then
they're a little bit bigger than my little duck.
Ah. And then they were like, so this is like a public exhibition and a big window. Could we try and be inclusive? So we got inclusive duck here.
Yeah.
And we got a wheelchair duck here to sort of make sure we were catering to everyone. And then
what are those going to be for?
It's a local. It's like they call it a leisure center here. It's got a library. It's got tennis courts. It's got ovals. It's big sporting complex as well, and it goes across their big window at the front. So
you might call it a community center, Scott.
Thank you. Yeah, community. Got that.
Got it.
Because I'd call it a leisure center.
Yeah, while you were resetting your internet, I was getting a lesson about the Commonwealth.
Yeah, less wealth, more common. And then we had a duck that's still in the shelf. He's at the back of a dozen ducks walking along with his family. So something good fun. So we got BB9E. We built that before the BB8 one came out, the kit that came out. It's a bit bigger than the kit. And it was just a nice challenge because of the stripes here. It was really hard to sort of get them in.
Yeah.
The head was kind of a unique shape. And same with R5D4. The body piece here is just a refitted R2D2, obviously, but the head's unique and the neck. They're actually Lego stickers in there, the reflective stickers that the style of the real build there. And then that's a Cave God AT-AT. That was kind of like one of the first big builds. I think it was the first big build I did. I got the instructions, but didn't have lots of the pieces, and so I just basically it's Cave God shape and look, hopefully from the outside mostly, but it's inside because we didn't have the pieces, and we're trying not to buy too many pieces, so it's a little different. And then over here we got K2SO looking at us from Rogue One and the new TV show that's coming out. And so that one I saw online. I saw a picture of a guy who built one, and I think actually he's got the instructions coming out in the next year or so. But I was like, oh, that's cool. I could build that. So yeah, so I knocked one of those out. Obviously, it's not the same as his, but it's very similar to his. So yeah, credit to him for the original thought of doing it. But yeah, just sort of you see something cool that you're like, hey, I could build that. Let's have a go at it. And usually you can. Give it enough try, give it enough practice, allow for a few not working.
I did see this on Ideas too, and I thought this was pretty fun.
So I've got the bear still, although I think I saw it got broken the other day. But I've had to steal the white Lego from the rest of it. So
right.
Yeah, we had some fun with that. It looked really good on display. It's quite big, and that's why it's got so much Lego in it. So it stands about that tall. So yeah, it's thousands of just regular white Lego bricks that was good. And we were hoping that would get picked, but I think it had too much of an environmental overtone. Like, no, that's not cool. But it looked good. It looked good in person. It looked good on display. Just too big to have hanging around the house too much.
Well, plus I think Lego is a little sensitive to the whole idea of the Arctic and that whole shell thing that they got involved in.
Yeah, I'm cognizant of that. It's a funny thing because obviously we all the people on this have just such a great love for Lego, but we're all, especially when you're working with them on things like Lego Ideas, you're very cognizant of making sure you want a clean bill of health if anyone wants to look at you.
Yeah,
we were pretty frustrated on SpaceX where the week we went into review was the week that they had. I think he called a guy a pedo, and he was on Joe Rogan smoking a joint. We're like, oh, it's like the worst start to review that we possibly could have hoped for, because he's such a great guy and such an inspiration in many senses. But yeah, I know Lego would have been going, oh, not sure about the brand fit on that one.
Yeah, true.
Fair enough.
I have a question. So with the idea projects that you guys have done that have not been approved through the entire process, will you ever release those in some capacity?
So there's a bunch of different answers to that. So let me try and answer it as succinctly as I can. Lego owns the copyright. So when you submit it to Lego Ideas, we assign the copyright to them for 3 years from rejection. So if I was to give it to you, I would be breaking their copyright, right?
Mhm.
I don't think I'd have an issue if I was giving it away, but they definitely will if I was selling it to you. If I asked for $1, that's a definite no. I know they do follow people up who have done it, so that's a definite no. Here's the catch, though. So Valerie did the launch umbilical tower and thought it would be really cool to put it out there, like not sell it, just put it out there for people.
Yeah.
But it's not a kit, right? Like that's the sort of the thing to understand is these aren't kits. They're fan made. A kit is going to have really good instructions, not LD style instructions, and it's going to have there's an actual team in Lego that are aside from the designer that are just there to go and look at it from a robustness perspective. They pull it all back apart again and go, all right, now how are we making this solid enough? We're worried about how it looks in a photo. So the end design is not going to be the same as the one you would buy, as you see when the things change. And when she gave out the instructions, there was a lot of dicky comments that came back that were just unfortunate. They're like, oh, come on, man. She's done all that work and she's not asking for you for anything. Here it is for free. And that taste, we were about to give out the instructions for the Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, and the TEL, and all that blew up. And it was like, yeah, you know what? I don't need that. I just don't need that in my life. I don't want people writing hate mail to me. I feel bad for those that miss out, but they can see the photos, and it's not super hard to replicate them from the photo. In the ideal world, yeah, we'd give them out. But actually, in an ideal world, even better than that, we'd have them buy the Lego kit. So, that's the challenge. So we haven't given them out. I think, it's a joint collaboration, so it would take Valerie and I to agree to give them out. And I think if I was trying to ask Valerie's view on it, it'd be like, I had a bad experience last time, so I probably wouldn't. For me, I'm probably a little bit naive, and I just sort of go, maybe, but I wouldn't do it if it wasn't both of us giving it the green light. And I can certainly lament with Valerie on the experience that she had there. Yeah, it wasn't handled super well by the Lego community, unfortunately, because I know there's a lot of gratitude to it, and there's a lot of people have taken that cool concept and then built ones that are even better, even more detailed, even more accurate, which is just amazing. It's a pity.
Yeah, well, that's great. Joe Chambers says that it's really that's what got him back in or got him into Lego was seeing what she had built. So he credits her with helping him.
And that's where the pity is, because 99% of the people are like Joe Chambers, right? They're just cool people, love the design, will make it their own, will do their own stuff. And then you get someone who'll write a really rude, blistering note. I've seen some of them. They're pretty rude, where you're like, what? Why would you say that to someone who gave you something? They didn't even sell you for $100 or $1,000. They gave it to you for nothing. And you're sending them a blisteringly rude note about the fact that this isn't as good as a real Lego kit. Of course it's not. Valerie's not it doesn't work for Lego. It's not a real Lego kit. We're not at that standard. I wish we were. If I was, I'd be working at Lego.
I'm an admin on the Bricks in Space Facebook page.
Yeah, so you can see some of that, right?
Oh yeah, we have to deal with that all the time, and
bonkers.
Like with Val, her design's been like stolen by these
Chinese, right?
Yeah, and we fight that non-stop.
So it's for sale now. They've sold reported 100,000 kits, and they just got her LDD and basically just did a piece count, did a piece dump, put it in bags and sell it to people. And there's people who I think are well-intentioned, who are good Lego fans, who put photos of their fake Lego launch tower. And I don't know that they realize that, first of all, they're stealing from the creator, and then they're also taking away from Lego. And if people start buying lots and lots and lots of fake Lego, that's less money that Lego can put towards creating cool stuff like this that we want,
Right.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, I hope, in that group there, I know you've done a good job of it, of educating people that, hey, there is an impact to this. If we don't support Lego, if we don't support the creators, then this stuff just doesn't get nice. We got trolled. Actually, so this is true, and it's a sad story. We launched Starship Super Heavy, got great press. It was like getting really good votes and everything, and we got featured on morning TV in the States and stuff like that for us. So it was a really great experience. That first 6 or 8 weeks was really cool. And then someone else launched a project that was sort of similar. It was the same rocket. I mean, totally different design, but the same rocket, basically.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, our project got about 6 an hour negative comments. It was like, and they weren't necessarily polite. That was super. And Lego, they'll remove them within 24 hours. But before we blinked, the taste of it had just completely changed. And there was at least a day or two there where I went, you know what? I don't need this. I got lots of other stuff to do. I probably just won't do Lego Ideas anymore. And Lego Ideas did get the comments off, and they obviously blocked the people after a while. But we had about a week there, or maybe 2 weeks of just hell of people just leaving rude comments to us. Obviously, it's Lego, man. Like, we're not causing a problem. We built a Lego run on there. We don't need someone telling us that we're effing blah blah. So you're like, come on, like, grow up. Like, yeah. And I'm sure it was just a bunch of kids thinking they were trying to support something else or something, but whatever their reason, it was super unfortunate and left a really sour taste in our mouth. But yeah, it took a month or two before we decided we would go back to doing too much on it, which is a pity. It's a lost opportunity.
So what's next? What are your after Godzilla?
Yeah, so I feel like I want to tell you, but I can't. I know I'm going to get hate mail from Valerie. I don't want that. So we have phases to our projects. We're in the heavy promotion phase for Godzilla. That's sort of finishing up about now. When it hits the first 1,000, that's kind of like you got that momentum going. And the momentum after that generally is much easier to maintain. That first 1,000 is super hard. Then we do the research for the next one, and that's the phase we're in now. Just getting lots of photos together. I can say it's not another rocket. It's something else other than a rocket. And again, that comes with unique challenges because you're trying to create something that hasn't been done in the sort of scale that we're trying to do it in Lego before. We want it to complement some of the other things we put together. So yeah, I actually, you know what? I can tell you one thing we're working on right now. We're going to put a poll out, I think today or tomorrow. I took the photos of it yesterday of vignettes, which the T-Rex. So you guys are the first to hear about this. So I apologize if I don't explain this well, but the T-Rex set had the gates, and in the back of that was vignettes. Yeah. So we've come up to continue the promotion for Godzilla. We've built 2 buildings. Next time I reboot, when my router reboots, I'll run down and go downstairs. But it's not going to happen again. I'll show them to you. I can show you the outside of the building. And what we're doing is we're going to run a poll of what should the vignettes be? What are your favorite Godzilla memories? Because to be honest, I'm not a Godzilla expert. I was a huge Jurassic Park expert. Obviously, I love my rockets, but Godzilla, I've gone and seen the movies. I've enjoyed them, but there are people who are very passionate about it. So things like Mecha Godzilla, Gothra, the bad guys, should we do that? There's been ideas bounced around about featuring the person who was originally in the Godzilla costume and sort of showing that on a film set. We've got a bunch of different ideas there right now. We're going to put a poll out and say, tell us what we should build in these buildings, in the back of the building. Here's the front. Show us what should go in the back, and let the fans pick what we will build. We've already scoped out some concepts, and we've scoped out how we think we could do those. But hopefully, within a couple of weeks of them saying, well, we'd really like to see Mecha Godzilla, we could go and put together a Mecha Godzilla for them that would show that sort of piece of Godzilla lore. So that'll be what's next. But the next overall Lego project is in research phase right now. There have been times, I will say, we've done research phase, we get to the end of the research phase and go, there is no good way to do this in Lego. We should stop now. This is not going to work. There's either it's too big or it's too thin, and it will just, it's not going to be a shape that bends itself towards Lego. We actually, I don't know if you remember, there was a different BFR version before that one. So before Starship Super Heavy, and it kind of had this curvature at the front. And that was actually what we were going to build when we switched over to the Falcon 9. That was actually our very first project. And we were kind of kicking it around going, well, how could this work and what would it do? We could not get the shape to work, even though we had done all the research. And so we canned the project. So that does happen. It's just you want to pick the right stuff, right?
So what I just did want to show, let me show a couple of Valerie's other projects. You talked about this, that, she does quite a few other things. The mini football, the environmental, the airplane. So it's really interesting how how much you guys are doing. I guess I'm really glad that somebody is out really trying to turn this into, a better platform.
The funny thing with COVID is I feel like there's just so much good stuff on there right now. It's just almost insane how many good projects. I don't know if you've seen how many are hitting the 10,000, but it's pretty normal for it to sort of be 7 to 9. And that we roughly worked up. We always said if we get one up to 10,000, we got about a 1 in 8 chance of getting through because they seem to be a one-off out of it. Well, now they've got, I think last review was like 26 or something.
Yes.
And this has already got swag coming through, far more than the usual number already. And they're picking sort of 2 or 3 out of those, which is probably keep the odds about the same. But there is a lot of interest in it. You're probably seeing on the platform they're actually saying in most instances getting back to you will take 7 days rather than the usual 1 or 2 business days because they've got such a big volume of inquiries or a volume of new projects to review and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it's a great concept that as far as fan engagement goes, it'd be hard to do it better. It's pretty amazing at that side. It's cool that we as fans get to go and contribute towards one day making a Lego kit. I am Valerie was, in the very early days asked me why would I do this, because it's a lot of work, right? It's time, it's work, it's money, it's whatever. And I was like, because I'm dying with envy that you've got a Lego made. You've got to be kidding me. That would be like the coolest thing ever, right? If you go and if you mention me, I'd say people I was the co-creator of the Saturn V, it'd be like, mic drop, I'm done. Thanks very much. So, yeah. And they're pretty good to work with too. Like behind the scenes, they're very professional, very polite, pretty responsive. Just get onto things. If you've got an issue, they'll sort it out for you. And then during the review process, they're really nice. If they have questions or things they need, they're super courteous and super keen to work with you on giving your project the best chance there. So yeah, I would give them a good shout out.
So you've done that 2 times already, or just the
3? So we've so SpaceX, the Ultimate Collection got through, the Starship Super Heavy got through. That one's actually under my daughter's name, so it was a 3-way one, that one. So Marcy, and Valerie and I did the co-creation of that one, and then the New Glenn, so Blue Origin New Glenn is the one that's in review right now, and we hope over the next month or 2 or 3 that SLS will hit the magic 10,000. It's already well on its way at 7, and I think it's got something like 600 days left to get the last 3,000.
Right.
I'm fingers crossed. And then obviously Godzilla coming in behind that. That's a bit earlier stage there. And we try not to have too many running at one time, partly because they actually do take time up themselves in managing. Like if you haven't noticed, if you go onto it, if you leave a comment, you will get a comment back from us. Even if your comment is just a simple comment that says, hey, cool project or whatever they do, I by policy will always write back to them. If someone tweets about it, we will always write back to them. Partly that's just fan engagement and saying thanks. We appreciate it. They didn't have to go and write some nice comment, and we really, really, really appreciate it. So it's something that we want to make sure we spend the time on. And perhaps we're having too many running at once. It's hard to do that. So we're keeping it to just we won't put anything online now until SLS finishes, I suspect.
right.
1,000.
So do you have any other recommendations if somebody wanted to get on ideas, what they should do?
Ooh, yeah. So I was an absolute amateur. I was so blessed to have someone like Valerie who could guide me through the process. I think if I was gonna give an overriding comment, it would just be to say, remember the name is Lego Ideas. They want your idea. Your design, I spent a lot of time fussing about stuff that was internals. No one ever sees it. And Lego is going to redesign it. So spend less time on worrying about that and stressing about that. Make it a really great design that has a broad appeal, because you've got to get 10,000 votes. If it's too niche, no one's going to hear about it. And then have a great set of photos. You have to spend the time on photos. I don't know whether you've seen the photos that we've done where pieces are on the moon and stuff like that, but every photo that you see online of our projects, per photo has taken a couple hours. There's a lot of behind those to get that photo just right. And it's hard to appreciate sort of standing here because they look like they're standing upright, but the rockets don't necessarily stand upright in the photos. So because you got background, but like it's houses and it's trees and it's lamp poles, you have to tilt your rocket enormously. So every photo you see of a rocket, it's actually more likely angled like that. It's me underneath taking a photo with the sky behind it. And we've had rapid unscheduled destruction. Yeah. We have the coolest photo collection that we have to put out sometime. Every time it happens, I just politely take a photo. And New Glen was the ultimate, so we took it up to the top of a car park, and like a highlight car park, and it was just windy, right? And like wind is not your friend if you've got a rocket that's on a tilt already. And I destroyed it 3 times. On the third time I called it was just too windy. I just, you rebuild it, and it's like kind of funny the first time. The second time, it's like, oh, come on. By the time you've done it the third time, you're like, I am getting in my car and I'm I can't contain. You're just done. But that's part of it. It's an interesting part of the process that I've found myself constantly wanting to shortchange on, is taking the time to get a good photo. And if you don't get the good photo, you can have the best build in the world and no one's going to appreciate it, see it, love it, or support it. They'll just go, oh, yeah, it's a rocket, good on you. We have, I've got my son gave up music, which was a blessing. And so in so many ways. So I stole his music stand, and I cut it up, I broke it up, and then I've glued Lego. So I actually have a rail system that's on a stand that can do this now, that tilts, that I can mount down these strips on the side that actually pop out, and I can just mount the rocket on any angle I want and take the photos. So that's when you see the photos from underneath the rocket and it's shooting up like that. That's how we get those sort of photos these days. But that's taken like 3 rockets to work out how to do it. Right. And many destruction, many hours of destruction. Yes.
Well, it doesn't hurt to have somebody as talented as Valerie to do the digital stuff, right? Because I'm looking at and I think I can show that again just because it's so impressive to me, is the way she did the Godzilla. Let me bring that up. I mean, I love, in the water, and I love the background behind it. I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah. So the top left one there is an actual photo with the sunset up on the top of my car at a car parking garage here. The bottom one there is obviously a Photoshop into, I think that's San Francisco Harbor. And so that one there, I'll do like a rough cut of it, and I'll go, this is what it could look like, and Valerie will very politely go, okay, yeah. Well, you got me the original image there, Matthew. and then it'll come back and it looks like that, and I'll go, that's pretty cool. And then we'll talk about, the one on the right there, we've got functionality we want to do, and we'll sometimes do a rough mock-up of it, and then we'll go, all right. And then also, so Valerie doesn't do the brick. So when you see a photo of a real brick built thing, that's my photo, but then with obviously a pretty good layer of Valerie helping out to make it look really cool as well.
So she doesn't build anything she designs?
She does, but limited space. So very rarely, and almost only once we're well on our way in Lego ideas, or in fact, perhaps even finished. So I know she has New Glen, but she got New Glen, I think it had already hit 10. I know she ordered the bricks for Godzilla only the other day, maybe yesterday, day before. So that'll come over the next month or so. It's not for everyone. Her passion is cool Lego designs. My passion is cool Lego builds.
Right.
They work out pretty well. I don't know. I really have so much respect for people who build stuff in the computer. I think it's just such a skill that I just don't have. But I get an enormous amount of satisfaction of having the bricks in my hand and putting it together and seeing how it works. And my creative process is different. So Valerie will look at it, and this is where some really odd pieces can come out. And she will have every piece of Lego available that's ever been made in Lego inside LDD, and she can go and pick those pieces, and it takes no time at all, right? I will go and get one of my big drawers here, and let me pull one over here. And this is just chock full of like red brick, right? And that's not the red 2x4, the regular bricks, or the slopes are another drawer. This is just the random bits of odd red, and I will just dump it out on the floor and go, what can I find that would be cool here? And there's Lego there dating back to like the 70s, right? And you can just find that piece that no one's thought of, or that I hadn't thought of anyway, that you go, oh, that would be so perfect. I just need another 10 of it. You're like, I got one. So you're rummaging through, really hoping that you've got another one. I don't know if you can see, but on Starship here, I had to steal one of the slopes there for what was going to be the little mini slope that I was going to do today. So you just scrape around, do what you can, find what you can. It's good fun. But, where we're different, it actually complements really well. It really does. It brings two sets of strengths together that I wouldn't be able to do it nearly as well without her. And I'm so grateful. It's one of the best collaborations outside of a working environment. It's one of the best collaborations I could have ever hoped for. I'm so lucky. Yeah. Not a minute goes by I don't pinch myself and go, yeah, you are very fortunate.
Well, especially when the royalty checks start falling in, right?
Yeah, I got a mortgage, man. I want to buy that guy in US's Porsche. I hear he's selling it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I could ship it over. Yeah.
That fuck ain't gonna crack by itself, right?
Well, it's been a pleasure. We are at the end of the show. It's been great fun getting to know you, Matthew, and to get more about Valerie. We are going to broadcast this at the normal time. We're still to be figured, but we're broadcasting, but now we can download the video. So really looking forward to getting your reactions and seeing what people think about this. But it's been great fun to get to know you. Makes me want to go to Australia even more.
You got to come over when you do.
My wife's been there a couple times for work, so maybe sometime I should follow her or something. For the 24 hours. Yeah. So anyway, it's been great fun, and thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Nice to meet you all.